Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Smithtown Planning Board is now in session. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Call
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We thank you. Please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Mr. Chairman, before I begin, I just want to make a note regarding the request by council for Carlson and FB4. Council has requested that the hearing be postponed until November 21st. However, the Planning Department would like to recommend, being that that date is the eve of Thanksgiving, that the hearing date be moved to the first meeting in December, which would be December 5th.
Okay.
Okay?
So that's a correction to the letter, and the attorney there has been notified?
No, the attorney has not been notified. We said we would bring this matter before the board for your consideration, but after we examined this, we felt that the day before Thanksgiving, which was their request, would not be the best date for the public, and December would be a
Okay, but
better
the
date.
attorney made the request to us, so
He made the request for the
will
adjournment.
you please get back to the attorney there and get that agreement?
Yes.
And then we can go from there, all right? But we'll accept your recommendation there, subject to the attorney's approval, okay?
Okay.
All righty. The first item on the agenda, the Planning Department recommends the following items for adjournment, as we have insufficient information to act upon them. Part 1, Item 1, number 2011-01, All Seasons Motor Lodge. Item 2, number 2012-04, Storybook Homes. Item 3, number 773, Scholar Estates. Item 4, the 288 application of Olivia Estates. Item 5, the letter of interpretation for the Polish National Church. Part 2, Item 6, number 2010-06, KVC Holdings. Item 7, number 1053A, Berg Estates. Item 8, number 911A, Glen Hill Northern. And under Part 3, Item 12, 2012-02, Carlson Associates. Item 13, number 2009-05, FB4 Realty. Mr. Chairman, these are the items the Planning Department recommends for adjournment.
Is there anybody here to be heard on those applications to be adjourned? Hearing none, a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the items read.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Ask if there's any representative here. Maybe he sent somebody else.
Mr. Chairman, before I move on to the next item, is there anyone present for the application of Esther Estates? No. Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda under Part 3, Item 9, number 1144, Esther Estates. The Planning Department does have a resolution prepared for the board. However, it appears that no one is present for the reading of the resolution.
Were they notified?
Yes.
They were. The attorney notified too?
Yes.
Well, the usual procedure is there that we don't hear it. Isn't that correct? Any questions by the board members?
Mark it off.
Okay.
We'll adjourn this item till the next hearing.
Yeah, we'll adjourn it. And
Okay.
better make sure that the attorney there gets in touch there with the client there to make sure that they have their information.
Okay. All righty. Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda under Part 3 is Item 10, number 2011-10, Anthony Lettieri. Mr. Chairman, this application was presented to the board at the November 16th, 2011 Planning Board meeting, at which time it was adjourned, pending an on-site inspection and a resolution to be prepared. I understand that the board members have completed their on-site, and we do have a resolution prepared for the board if you wish to have it read onto the record.
Start with Part 6.
There is an evaluation in the memorandum under Item 6. There are several factors that the Planning Department has considered in evaluating the appropriate next action on this petition. First, since the public hearing on this petition was held in November of 2011, the Town Board has engaged a consultant to study the area in which the subject property is located. It may be prudent to wait for the results of this study before making a decision about this individual parcel within the study area. Second, although the petitioner has not clearly described what uses are proposed for the site, the WSI zoning that is being requested may not permit all of the uses that the petitioner appears to be contemplating. For example, while WSI may permit outdoor storage, it does not permit outdoor activities such as fabrication, assembly, or other forms of manufacturing. Therefore, approval of the requested zoning may not actually benefit the petitioner. Third, the WSI category was designed for uses along major highways and permits many uses, such as fast food restaurants, vehicle sales and showrooms, and bars or taverns that would not be appropriate in this area. Fourth, approval of this petition as it stands now could severely limit the potential for development and redevelopment of the balance of this area. Owners of surrounding properties have proposed alternative uses for their properties, including a tree farm, for which a site plan has been submitted, and a proposal for multifamily housing, and such proposals may not harmonize with the activities that could be permitted by approval of this petition. Finally, the Town Board may wish to consider amendment of the permitted uses in industrial zoning districts or establishment of an overlay district or some other approach that would accommodate both the needs and the constraints faced by industrial and residential property owners townwide. For these reasons at this time, the Planning Department considers it premature to act on this petition and does not recommend approval of this petition. However, the Town Board has requested that the Planning Board make a recommendation on this matter and forward the petition for the Town Board review. Therefore, the Planning Department has prepared the recommendation below for your review. Because of several issues of uncertainty with regard to this area, the Planning Department is not recommending any decision on this petition until the conclusion of the study of the Lawrence Road, Old Northport Road area. Should the Board wish to consider approval of the petition, the Planning Department suggests that conditions on any proposal limit the uses to be permitted on the site to specific uses and preclude specific uses that would be detrimental to the area, as discussed in the evaluation section of this memorandum, and provides the following resolution for the Board's consideration. Be it resolved that the Planning Board recommends to the Town Board that change of zone petition number 2011-10, Anthony Lettieri, for a change of zone from R43 to WSI be approved subject to the following conditions. 1, business uses on the subject property shall be limited to those permitted in the light industry zoning category. 2, this approval does not imply approval of any outdoor manufacturing, fabrication, assembly, or similar activities. Mr. Chairman, this is the Planning Department's recommendation for the zone change application number 2011-10, Anthony Lettieri.
Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
And that would be...
No one? A motion.
Mr. Chairman, we've prepared our own motion that takes into consideration the Town Board's request in this matter and their retention of an expert to study the area. And at this time, I'm going to offer that in the place of the Planning Department's recommendation. In the matter of Anthony Lettieri, number 2011-10, be it resolved that upon due deliberation and consideration of the record before us from the hearing held on November 16, 2011, the Smithtown Planning Board issues the following advisory opinion to the Town Board. Number 1, the subject site and the surrounding area is in need of a new zoning category. Number 2, that this matter be forwarded to the Town Board for a full hearing on the applicant's zone change application. Number 3, that prior to said hearing, based upon the significant impacts to the immediate area, surrounding residents, and the township as a whole, that the Town Board retain the services of an appropriate professional consultant to render expert opinions about the creation of a suitable zoning category for this site and the surrounding area that takes into consideration the concerns expressed by the applicant, the local residents, and the Smithtown Planning Department. 4, that the town board consider said expert consultant's opinions prior to ruling on the applicant's zone change application. 5, that the town board take any other and further action it deems appropriate in order to preserve, protect, and improve the surrounding residents' quality of life, while at the same time promoting an environment that does not hinder lawful businesses from continuing to operate in a profitable manner. That's my motion.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Any questions by the members of the board? Hearing none, I'll hear a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered. We thank you.
Adam, can we get a copy of that after?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda under Part 3, Item 11, the site plan application for the Smith Haven Mall for the Bahama Breeze Restaurant. I just want the board to be aware that there are copies of site plans attached to the back of the memorandum. Pursuant to Section 322-22 of the zoning ordinance, any proposed development which qualifies as a commercial center, as defined in the ordinance, is subject to site plan approval by the planning board. The Smith Haven Mall project meets the definition of commercial center. The purpose of tonight's hearing is for the board to review the application for the construction of a 7,091 square foot restaurant with a 1,689 square foot outdoor dining area on the Smith Haven Mall site. By town code, this action is considered as modifying a commercial center, which is subject to the planning board's review. Pursuant to Section 322-22, a copy of the ordinance is attached to your memorandum. The planning board reviews the site plan for all commercial centers which are larger than 2 acres and have proposed structures larger than 15,000 square feet. The purpose of this review is to examine the overall design as it relates to both general and specific site design standards. These recommendations are then forwarded to the Board of Site Plan Review, which makes the final determination on approving the site plan. As noted previously, the applicant is proposing to construct a 7,091 square foot restaurant with a 1,689 square foot outdoor dining area as an accessory use in the southwest corner of the Smith Haven Mall's parking lot. This site plan has gone through numerous revisions, most of which related to parking lot design, circulation, pedestrian access, and bus stop locations. The applicant also needed to obtain special exception approval and several variances from the Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA case number 16614. The special exception was for a permit to have outdoor dining. The variances related to reducing parking from 3,195 to 2,635 parking spaces, and variances for outdoor dining standards. Both the special exception and variances were granted conditional approval on April 11, 2012 by the BZA. A copy of that decision is attached to your memorandum. Additionally, the applicant had to obtain approval from the New York State Department of Transportation. All of these actions have been completed, and what is being showed to the board this evening is the final site plan incorporating all of the major components from this review process. While the overall site meets with our expectations, we will address specific criteria outlined in 322-22. Access. Although this improvement will result in more traffic generation because much of the mall in this area is vacant, the amount of new space being constructed is smaller than the original proposal. Because this is a major center with multiple access points, additional traffic problems beyond those which currently exist are not expected on the surrounding roads. The mall does not have a primary access point as there are many entrances serving all directions. Access from the south side of the mall site is via Middle Country Road, New York State Route 25, where 2 traffic signals are located at New Mauritius Road, which is considered the main entrance, and at the entrance to Costco. Access from the west is available by 2 entrances along Alexander Avenue. There are 3 entrances from the east on New Mauritius Road, and an entrance from New York State Route 347 on the north side of the site. Parking. A variance was granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to reduce the parking requirements from 3,195 spaces to 2,635 spaces. This variance clarifies that the parking requirement is now calculated at 1 space per 166 square feet of gross floor area, which are the current standards. In the past, the parking was based on leasable area, which was difficult to keep track of due to the additions of kiosks, utility areas, and mezzanines. Planning examined the parking usage at this site and determined that at peak times, for example on Black Friday after Thanksgiving, this area was not in use. The Village of Lake Grove, however, has expressed concern over the potential impact to their portion of the mall site. Drainage. The application is pending before the Board of Site Plan Review and has been approved by the Engineering Department for grading and drainage purposes. The site currently drains properly and is expected that the current proposal will not significantly alter the site drainage. Although not part of the stormwater system, the Village of Lake Grove, on previous expansions, notified the town that there have been problems with the sewage treatment plant that is located on the east side of the mall. This plant is within the jurisdiction of the Village of Lake Grove. At the last hearing on the mall expansion, which included the Cheesecake Factory, Dick's Sporting Goods, and other retail uses, the Planning Board conditioned their approval on obtaining permission from the village to connect to these usages to their plant. We are recommending a similar condition. As a side note, we have not yet received written comments from the Village Planning Board and hope to have them by this evening, which I believe we do not have. We do have. I believe a copy has been given to you. Buffers, sidewalks, and curbs. The pending design does meet the minimum landscape requirements of 15%. Also, the proposed plan would not significantly diminish the landscaping that was added by the last two expansions. Exterior design of the building, signs, and structure. The current plans conform to the town site plan standards required pursuant to Article 8 and Section 322B5 of the Town Building Zone Ordinance. While the board may wish to adjourn this matter for an on-site inspection, the members may be familiar enough with the site to act this evening. If the board wishes to act on this matter, we do have a recommendation prepared below. At this time, the Planning Department Director would like to address the board.
Mr. Chairman, when this memo was written, we had not yet received comments from the Village of Lake Grove. We have since received those comments, and a letter is in your packet today. It includes objections from the village with regard to this particular site. This letter was also sent to the town board and the supervisor of the town. And yesterday at a town board work session, the town board, which is also the Board of Site Plan Review, discussed this particular matter and concluded that they will not put any condition of we did in the past about subjecting the applicant to an approval from the Village of Lake Grove in terms of their access. Since the town board is the final approving agency, it is our recommendation, which is attached to this resolution, is actually superfluous. So therefore, our recommendation would be on this matter, be it resolved that the planning board hereby approves the modification of the commercial center known as the Smith Haven Mall to permit the construction of a 7,900 square foot restaurant, and leave it at that. Okay?
Thank you.
So we're striking the condition from that resolution?
That's correct.
Okay.
That completes your
I'm sorry, that completes our recommendation, yes.
Is there anyone here representing the applicant? Give your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Andrea Tsoukalis. I'm with the firm of Forcelli Cardo, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. I'm here on behalf of N&D Restaurants. With me today is Neil Terwilliger. He's the Site Development Manager for Darden Restaurants. Kristen DeLuca, she's the engineer from Bowler Engineering for the applicant. John Harder, who is the transportation expert with Atlantic Traffic and Design, and Dave Agarian, who's the engineer for Simon Properties. You've given me a great synopsis of the application, and I'm not going to repeat everything. You went over a lot of what I would have gone over. I just want to make a couple of comments, I guess, with respect to the recommendation to the town board. We do not think it's proper to place any type of condition regarding the Village of Lake Grove's concurrent jurisdiction over this matter. It is our position that the Village of Lake Grove does not have site plan jurisdiction. It also does not have any jurisdiction over the sewage treatment plant. We did obtain a Speedies permit. I have submitted that already into the record. If you want to hand it over to the different board members to review it, that's fine. We also have the latest capacity with respect to that. With the Bahama Breeze and P.F. Chang's, which is being constructed at this time, the existing sewage treatment plant has an excess capacity of 2,744 gallons. Once they construct and do the additional improvements, we're going to have an additional excess capacity of 25,000 gallons. So all of that has been addressed with Suffolk County Health. And again, we don't think it's proper for this board to make any recommendations with respect to any type of concurrent jurisdiction with the Village of Lake Grove. I concur with everything else in terms of traffic and parking and the runoff. I did want to explain that we are reducing the impervious areas, and we're increasing landscape islands and around the perimeter of the building, the islands, and as well as the perimeter of the pad. As mentioned, this is an existing mall with existing access points, so we don't have any issues there. I don't want to go on again because most of what I would have discussed has been covered, but I do have people here to address any other issues this board has or questions this board may have.
Thank you. And do your next presentation.
I'm sorry?
Your next presentation.
I only have people here to answer questions. If you want us to present for you, we can.
Do you have any transportation people or? that
I
wanna
do.
present?
I do. Would you like to hear from him?
Yes, please.
Sure. Just introduce yourself.
Evening, John Harder, Atlantic Traffic and Design Engineers. I had presented a report we prepared before the zoning board back in February, and the focus of that report was on two items. One was the trip generation comparison between the existing conditions and the shopping center with the restaurant. The restaurant will be part of the shopping center, so the building area is quite small. It's less than 1% in terms of the building area. So the overall trip generation during evening, weekday evening, and Saturday midday peak hours is very low. It's about 20 additional trips during the typical retail peak times. So that, as described earlier, that's really a negligible increase when you consider that the center is generating thousands of trips during these typical peak hours based on typical projections. The parking was the second focus of our report, and we focused on the southwest quadrant of the shopping center, about 400 spaces in the area that we're modifying outside of the loop road, and we studied that, and as it was noted, there was very limited parking there we studied the first weekend in December of last year, so a prime time. That first Saturday of December is considered one of the top 10 busiest days of the year. Maybe not quite as heavy as Black Friday, but close. And during the weekday evening peak hour, we saw only 5 cars parked in that 369 stall area that we studied. And on the Saturday, we saw 121 cars parked, so only a 33% occupancy in that area. When you look at the addition of the building, which takes away some parking, and you consider the demand of the restaurant itself that's being added, we found that area would only have a 61% maximum occupancy of parked cars during a typical peak demand time. So considering the low trip generation, that we have available parking in this area of the mall, our report concluded that there were no traffic concerns with the application.
Thank you. Maybe there we have, if there's some people in the audience, you would rather have the questions directed there to some other subject there that you could answer. Is that what you would like to do?
That's fine. We could wait for the questions. That's
Okay.
fine.
I'd like to give the applicant first chance here to put their presentation ahead.
Okay.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this subject? Would you come to the microphone and give your name, please? Name and address.
Joan Finero, 184 Alexander Avenue, next
You
concert.
can talk right into the mic.
Want me to say that again?
Yeah.
Joan Finero, 184 Alexander Avenue, next concert. R-N-E-I-R-O. I'd like to address responsible planning. Planning for all the communities in Smithtown. We're growing. And I think, many of us think, in fact, all of us think that, this way? Thank you, honey. That planning that protects communities and doesn't lead to environmental overload that destroy communities, air traffic, pollution, noise, unhealthy fumes, thousands of cars. Would you like that in your community? Why should we, the people, have to get petitions to keep our communities safe? The town planning board should do this. If they can't come up with what is best for all concerned, not just big business, then look for some advice from those who have an answer. Massapequa Mall put up chain link fences at the end of some of its through streets to the mall. Smithtown put up a light leading to Smithhaven Mall from a small community, Alexander Avenue, devastating us, adding to the traffic, still taking traffic surveys at off hours. These are not real stats. At a time when people are talking about protecting our natural resources, are we, the people, not natural resources? Even Brookhaven has chain link fences at some cross streets leading to the mall. If something has to be built, why not offices or a bank? There should be a moratorium on more building in the Smithtown Mall area, especially for restaurants or anything that would add constant traffic on weekends. Trucks, motorcycles, buses use our streets as a through street right now. They are not safe. Why not be a model for a new kind of planning, saving suburban quality of the neighborhood? We are not New York City with constant traffic overloads, are we? So, one of the things that I'm asking is why should the approval of any outdoor restaurant hinge solely on the definition of curbside dining? When our communities become overburdened, we should rely on the planning board for balanced, responsible planning. So, we ask, do what's moral and ethical. Stop any more growth in the Smithhaven Mall area. Declare a moratorium. Why? Our community is becoming more unified through computers. More and more are we becoming outraged by the lack of concern for our civil rights, or as the Constitution of the United States says, our divine right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Give us back our peaceful, safe community where mothers, fathers, children, and friends and family can walk out the door and visit and talk and play without getting hit by a car. By the way, crime is always up in these areas. We were advised by lawyers that we could sue if there is a bad accident or devastation through lack of proper planning. I know this sounds idealistic, but I really do think that the rights of big business and the small community can be balanced. And it's the planning board who can do this. When you want to build and grow an area beyond its capacity, then we have a right, the people of that community, to be protected by you, the planning board. We aren't supposed to run around getting petitions and going crazy. This is your job. We rely on you for this. You're all creative people. There could be something that could be done. You should have protected it like 222 off of Jericho with all those big buildings. They have communities back there. You can't pass through the community. You should have stopped through traffic through the community if you wanted to utilize these properties properly. I have much more to say, and I don't want to go on forever, but you get the gist of the idea, and I thank you for listening respectfully.
You're quite welcome.
Susan Fink, 159 Alexander Avenue. Everything that my neighbor said is exactly the way we're all feeling. Every single house on Alexander Avenue and Dover Hill and Whitecliff and Yarmouth, we're overwhelmed with what's coming to our corner. We realize we live near the mall. And we've heard the studies, we've heard people say there won't be any more traffic. That is unbelievable to even consider that there won't be more traffic, that there'll be 20 more or 30 more cars. If that's all that would be brought to a business, they wouldn't be able to succeed. It's not just the customers coming out of the mall. But I would like to ask you about the question of noise, because that was one thing that was cited. We heard that we will not be hearing any of the noise, whether it's the entertainment noise or the customer noise, from outside of the property. Who guarantees that? We have people living across Jericho Turnpike, and their backyards face what will become Sonic, hopefully not. If the noise from Bahama Breeze is heard in those houses, who's culpable? Who's responsible? Who do those people turn to when on a summer night and you want to have your windows open and the business doesn't close until 11 o'clock at night and they have music outside and we hear it? Who do we turn to? I'm serious. I'm not asking this, not hoping for an answer. Who is responsible? What do we do then? Say, whoops, we made a mistake? How can you allow that kind of noise, even if it's one person playing a guitar and people, if they sing, they don't sing, who knows, and eating on the side that there are houses, at least put it on the other side. Cheesecake Factory has outdoor dining away from any houses. We don't hear it. That's quite a bit further away. But this is on the corner. Who do we turn to when what has been said here is not the case? Can I get an answer, or is there an answer for that? No.
Well, I'll say there's an answer to it. When I first came here to Smithtown in 1948, that was a farm, all of that property.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens when zoning takes into effect and planning takes into effect. They try to accommodate everything that can possibly be accommodated to be able to move into the 21st century. That's what we're doing there. It's just trying there to get everybody to understand that we're not a country village anymore. We are a community there that has concerns.
I do understand that. And I bought my house in 1969 with the original owners. And when we bought the house, the site planning had Alexander Avenue closed. The map still exists in the town office, and there's a big sign that says, superseded, boom. We knew there was going to be a mall, but when somebody asks for a variance, by the nature of a variance, it means they're asking for something that's outside of what's permitted. Why does our town permit that in our neighborhood? We're the taxpayers, we're the voters, we're the town. I understand a business is entitled to make money and a profit off their business. And for whatever it's legally zoned for, I understand what you're saying. But why go outside of that? Why would you add something that they are not entitled to, that they're asking for addition, when you have 360 people out of 378 who live in that area signing that petition, the others weren't home, and one person thought it was a good idea? Why would you allow a business to have something additional to what they're entitled to when the rest of the community says, we're entitled to peace in our neighborhoods? And again, if this noise comes over, that means that somebody stood here and said to you, it won't happen, and you all said, oh, it won't happen. We know it's going to happen. How do we accept it? How do you accept it? And what do we do? Thank you.
We hear your complaint. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
One more thing. Yes, please. Try not to be repetitive, that's all.
Mrs. Fink brought up a very pertinent issue, which I think just flew over people's ears. Originally, that street was meant to be closed. And somewhere the board, what board was on at that time, voted superseded. Now, if that area and that street were closed, you could have built to your heart's content. You wanted to build, it's a new world, you're growing, yes, but not by stepping over us, the small people, the people of your community that pay taxes. You have to get more creative. That street should have been closed. You could have built your brains out along there. Not over our dead bodies and the devastation of our community. It is absolutely wrong, immoral, and unethical. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to be heard on this application? Anything you want to continue with?
Sure, I'll just address generally. I mean, some of these objections are general objections. We do have a parking variance, and the deficiency was only 68 stalls. I know the numbers that were introduced before were much larger, so I just wanted to explain that to the residents. I'm not sure if they understood that. With respect to the noise, I do have a radius map that I'd like to show the board, which shows that the nearest resident is at 488 feet away from the property line. I mean, from the building, actually. So we do only have one entertainer. It's a very limited background music. It's not something where you have live bands and a lot going on there. We do have a covered roof, so that's going to contain a lot of the sound. And the entertainer is facing in, so again, that will reduce the sound. We did have a noise expert at the Zoning Board of Appeals who did explain about the ambient noise of the traffic going by at 62 decibels, which would drain out most of anything that could be heard from any of the neighbors. And that was a big consideration that the board looked at, and at the street level, the noise was at 74 decibels. So it was very low, and it complied with the noise ordinance. And the board also placed conditions and said that, you know, the music had to stop at 11 p.m. and obviously we have to comply with the noise ordinance, which we are going to be doing. So I just wanted to submit this to the board. So
Yes. Do you have duplicates of that so that the members of the board could have that for if we do an on-site?
You could go.
Okay.
I only have one right now, but we'll get you more tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. One is actually, it's a radius and shows 100, 200, 300, and 400 feet out. And the other one shows actual lines to homes off Alexandra and Middle Country Road.
Okay. I don't know if this lady's finished yet.
May I ask her a question? Is that fair?
Well, when she's finished, I'll let you come to the mic. You can ask us a question, and she'll answer it, okay?
I think that's all. I mean, everything else seemed to be general objections that I'm not going to address.
Okay. All right. State your question now to us, and then she can get up and
Okay.
give an answer to it.
And I mean no disrespect, but if we hear the noise, can we call the police?
Yes, you can do all of those things. There's public safety, there's everybody there is available to be able to answer questions. We have all types of agencies in the town that respond to those requests. Now, I'm not saying that you always get satisfaction for that, but at least those agencies are in effect for you to call.
Is there
Public
recourse?
safety.
Can something be pulled back once it's granted? Can the outdoor entertainment perhaps be ceased?
The building department will be enforcing the ordinances there, and public safety along with them. It's not a question where we just adopt something and then just don't ever respond to it. It is something that we do have agencies that respond to it.
If they violate the noise code, they'll be issued summonses and have to appear in district court
Okay.
and have to deal with it that way. If they keep doing it, they'll keep getting summonsed. So you call the Smithtown Public Safety or the police, whoever you want to call, and you deal with it that way. But these are all hypothetical. Based on the presentation,
I understand
it
that.
doesn't sound like you're going to have much of a
Please,
problem.
no comments, excuse me. No comments, please, here, because we have television on and we have our microphones and we want to record everything that people have to say. If you want to come up to the mic and have some objection there, I don't have any problem. You can come up. Yes.
Okay, so in general, I don't want to cross over, but any business that violates what was promised as far as noise ordinance, we can have recourse to the
Absolutely.
town. If we hear the Sonics speakers, we can have some recourse and they can have subpoenas.
Yes, and they have an excellent
tickets.
public safety department here that is on a regular basis here, investigates problems here of the residents here, and they do a great job.
I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think this gentleman, I don't know if this gentleman in the back wants to speak. I heard him, somebody in the back was making comments. Is it okay? No, come up to the mic and give your name and address, please.
My name is Joe Peenies. I'm from Wisconsin, 9 Leary Lane. I just think more people that you have to protect us, the more the taxpayers' money is being spent when they could be doing something else instead. So I don't know why you call for assistance because of noise when they can be doing something else when we didn't even have to have this to begin with. So I have to say.
Thank you.
Pianese.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else? One more person coming up.
Robert Indovino, 180 Alexander Avenue, Wisconsin. I have a couple of questions. Planning on Alexander Avenue, as far as planning, has anybody here taken a walk from Browns Road to Alexander to 25A over the last 2 years and saw what's going on that street?
I don't know there what you're relating to there, but
It's the way the street's designed. There's no buffers. The sidewalk is right on the curb. You know, you have no buffers. You have your mailboxes on the sidewalk, so you have to walk around them. You have bushes and trees. You can't walk down the street.
but that has nothing to do with this application.
It does, because the traffic on that street is unbelievable. And someone's going to get hurt on that street. So when you do your site visit, I would like you to take a walk from Browns Road to 25 and see how it is.
Okay,
Can that happen?
will certainly be noted there in all of the minutes, and when it comes up there for any type of a town board hearing, that all of that information will be handled by
Well, that
them.
has something to do with this.
Okay.
Because you're adding traffic to that street, which they should, businesses are allowed to be built. I understand that. But you should be protecting our street. That's what you're here for. You should walk down that street and see what's going on with it. Don't listen to this traffic studies. Go look at it for yourself.
Thank you. No, unless you're going to give something new, please.
I'm sorry, I'm representing a few people that aren't here. Right now on Alexander Avenue, as Mr. Indovino stated, it is very dangerous. Naturally, there are low times when it seems practically normal, but at certain times, I and many of us cannot get out of our driveways. It's that bad. My mailbox has personally been knocked over, but not knocked over, knocked by a car completely into my neighbor's driveway. I did call the police, that's on records. I have been taking pictures, I'll send them to the town board, of dead animals all along the street being hit by cars. Mr. Indovino is absolutely right. The street is overburdened as it is, very overburdened. And we do know that businesses have the right, but we have rights too. There has to be a way to balance both. There has to be a way to balance both. When you come to take that walk, come during certain hours when you hear the noise and the buzz. There is no peace in our home. Motorcycles, trucks. By the way, we don't know why it's a through trucking zone. Trucks constantly coming through that are huge, making noise and rumbling. It is a devastation of a community. Perhaps as Susan said, the closing of the street shouldn't have been voted down. Kept it closed. It is, I hate to use this word, the rape of a community.
You can't close a street in the community.
It was
because-
slated to be
excuse me.
closed, sir.
No, you have to have, if somebody is on the street, they have to have a place for emergency vehicles to
Yes.
respond. And closing a street is not the way to do it. We go through that issue on a regular basis.
I'm glad you brought that up. When we mentioned closing of the street, although it was on the map, and most of us bought because of that, you can close a street just by putting 2 brick stanchions up and saying, closed community, or whatever, so people can't go through, but the emergency vehicles could go through. There's always an inventive way.
No, there's
We're
not.
not talking about,
You're not there,
closing.
you're not closing a street to emergency vehicles.
no, you shouldn't.
And emergency vehicles are not just there. Fire department,
You-
police department, anybody,
We want
public
those
safety,
vehicles.
anybody there that has to get into that community
We want
has to
that.
have access.
You're not understanding me. Let
I
me,
do understand you, because you know why?
I don't want to
live
close
on-
the street.
I live on Maple Avenue. Maple Avenue was a country street when I
Yes.
first moved in there. But you can't stop people from coming to the community. You came here, everybody else has come here. It's no way that you can control with zoning. You
Well,
can't.
let me ask you a question. Why was the builder allowed, if it's the wrong thing, to put a map with a closed street where we all bought, were we duped?
Listen, I don't even know what you're talking about there, because I have nothing to
Fink
do
just
with it.
brought it up.
Yes, but it's not something there that belonged before this board. It's something there that you have a complaint to the town board. If
Back
you want to
when?
if you want to go to the town board and make a complaint, you're perfectly free to do so. And they have all of the agencies that will look into your complaint.
Right. Now, you brought up a very important fact. Police, firemen, ambulances, do you think that they will be responding in a proper manner with all that traffic? Even if they are slowed down by 1 minute and 1 second, it is harm to our community. No matter how you look at it, the community has been devastated. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. You've made note of everything there that's been said, right?
I did, but
Okay.
I think you addressed a lot of the issues, and they're beyond the purview of this application. So again, I will not address them. I did want to just close by saying that, as you all know, a portion of the mall is within the village of Lake Grove, about 55 acres of it, and 40 acres are in the town of Smithtown. The pad site that we're talking about here is wholly within the town of Smithtown. So this town is the only town that has jurisdiction over site plan control. And again, with respect to the sewage treatment plant, that's the county, Suffolk County Department of Health. As your own planning board has explained, this application and the proposed Bahama Breeze restaurant does fit and is harmonious with the mall and the existing improvements, and we ask that you recommend approval for the proposed restaurant.
Thank you. Members of the board, any questions? A motion there for the on-site?
In the matter of Commercial Center, Smithhaven Mall, Bahama Breeze Restaurant, motion to adjourn for an on-site inspection.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. You're welcome. All right. Please.
That concludes all of the applications before the board this evening, Mr. Chairman. There are some items under Part 4 for correspondence. There is a draft copy of the transportation section of the comprehensive plan, which I believe all the board members have received. There is also I believe it's attached to the back of your packet, a copy of the draft letter to the town board for a modification to the LWRP, and of course you have copies of the letters from Vincent Tremarco making the request for adjournment.
Okay? Questions by the board? None? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.